Warm and revolutionary greetings. Ninjani bakwethu. Ninjani bakwethu. Siyaphila this side. Siyaphila this side. Today in South Africa, it's the day known as Human Rights Day because the 21st of March. So it's the day that is officially known as the Human Rights Day. That's how the day is officially known. So the country is celebrating that day. I don't know, is it celebrating or commemorating? Yeah, but we'll get to that. We'll get to that, guys. Before we get to it, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you very much, guys, for subscribing to the channel. And thank you very much, guys. Those who have not yet subscribed, please do subscribe. At the bottom of the video, there's a subscribe option. Please do click on it. Okay, guys, let's get to it. Like I've said, today is the 21st of March, and in South Africa, this day is known as Human Rights Day. But now let's just try and give the background. How did this day come about? Because even the naming, naming it a Human Rights Day is very problematic. It's very problematic because it's an attempt to erase the history, or to distort the history, So let's just try and give a background of this day, because actually this day, before the 1994 breakthrough, it was known as the SHARPVILLE Day. SHARPVILLE Day, because on this day in 1960, a massacre happened. As you know, 1960 was still during the hardcore apartheid days, right? So on the 21st of March, the apartheid government and its security forces massacred black people in Sharpeville. But not only in Sharpeville, because there's Langa as well in other townships on this day. Because it was a protest that was led by the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, known as PAC, under the capable leadership of Robert Mangali Sosobukwe. It was the PAC that led that protest. The protest was against the pass laws. As you know, during these days, people were compelled to carry their passes, what is called Dom Pass. Wherever you go, you're supposed to carry that identity book, right? So just to give the background how this day came about, right? The Sharpeville massacre occurred, like I've already said, on the 21st of March, 1960, at the police station in the township of Sharpeville, in the then Transvaal province, which is now known as Gauteng. Back then was known as the Transvaal, right? Of the then Union of South Africa, right? Like I've said, now today is known as Gauteng. After demonstrating against anti-black pass laws, a crowd of about 7,000 black protesters went to the police station. Sources disagree as to how the behavior of the crowd. Some state that the crowd was peaceful, while others state that the crowd had been hurling stones at the police and the mood had turned ugly. As you know, the apartheid police, even it's the same as even the police today under this dispensation, they don't need much provocation for them to kill black people. That's just how cheap black lives are, So you should not buy much into the story that the police were provoked. We know they've always been out to kill black people, right? Then the South African police opened fire in the crowd when the crowd started advancing to the fence. There were 249 victims in total, including 29 children, with 69 people killed and 180 injured. Some were shot in the back as they fled. And again, must be careful when it comes to terms of the numbers, because remember now, the stats that's provided even by the official stats of the apartheid government. I'm convinced it was much more than 69 people. You see, the apartheid police killed much more than 69 people on that day. So that's how this day came about, right? But now here's a challenge that we are all having now. Come 1994, it's a democratic dispensation. Then the current government decides, the current government which is led by the African National Congress. And we know that the African National Congress has always been a rival of the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, the PAC. Because remember, the formation of the PAC was formed by people who left the ANC. Because the ANC had abandoned its nationalist ideology. That's when they left to form the PAC. So fast forward to 1994, when the ANC came into power, they decided to name this day the Human Rights Day. Right. So now that's why the problem becomes. That's why we start having a problem now. Because now we say Human Rights Day, then we are distorting history. Because now remember, go to mainstream media. Even this morning, even now, you can open your television, your radio. They are talking about human rights. As important as the human rights are, but they've limited and reduced the human rights into being merely about water, electricity, mere service delivery, what we term service delivery in this country. That's what they've reduced this day to be all about. Now, it means now they are rewriting the history now. As if the struggle was just all about access to water and electricity. As important as those things are, but the struggle was much more significant. Was about much more than just water, electricity. It was about also the return of the land. Because what is the use of having the rights if you are still landless? How are you going to exercise those rights? Because remember, the land means economy, means the buying power. Because the rights is just something. For you to say you've got rights, the rights is just something that is written on paper. Right? Something that is written on paper. But for you to give effect and life to those rights, you need economic power. Right? Let's just take for an example. During the apartheid days, there were laws that were enacted that prevented black people from what? From taking their children into the what is known as Model C schools or multiracial. Right? So now those laws are gone. But they're just gone. But the fact is, in practice, they remain. Because for you to be able to take your child to a multiracial school, you must have economic means to do that. So how are you going to have economic means if the land and all the strategic sectors, or the strategic sectors of the economy remain in the hands of the white people? So it means the black majority are still excluded. So it's well and good to have the rights that are written in paper, but you cannot exercise those rights without having any meaningful economic power. Right? You see. So now there's a danger of what is happening now. You see. So now this day is just becoming about just the rights, right to water, right to electricity. That's a very reductionist mentality, that liberal sensibilities that we are being subjected to right now. You see. So that's the danger we are having now. That this day now has lost its meaningful through the naming. Because naming is very important. Naming is very important because the naming ensures that you don't forget the history of where you're coming from and the present of where you are, and in terms of the future, how to advance going forward. So that's a difficulty now we're having here in this country right now. The distortions that we're confronted with. And again, these rights, we've got the chapter, what you call the Chapter 9 institutions, the Public Protector and Human Rights Commissions. But the question becomes what? Do you and I, as ordinary members of the community, do we have access to those institutions? When we get this access to those institutions, do they take our issues seriously? I can give an example. 4 years back, I wrote to the Human Rights Commission regarding the water electricity in Maludapofum, in Tiame B and Tiame C, because we are confronted with the water challenges. It's 4 years down the line. They never bothered to come to investigate the case. They even say, now we're doing something about it, we're doing something about it. Yeah, someone who's handling the case is not here, is not here. Then 4 years down the line, they've never met with me as a complainant. The South African Human Rights Commission, you see. And remember, those are the institutions that are supposed to give meaningful impact. Those institutions are supposed to give a meaning to these rights that we have in the Constitution. But seemingly they are only interested in the high-profile cases, the type of cases that can attract the media. Those are the cases that they're interested in. You see. So after all the nice speeches we'll be hearing today from the president and all these politicians, especially from the governing party, but the fact remains that on the ground, those rights, they remain just the rights that are on paper, unfortunately. Because people still have to go to and run after the Jojo tankers. That's a fact. You see, that's a fact. Unemployment just keeps increasing and increasing. What about the right to work? Because that one says it's a right as well. What about the right to work? How are you supposed to give any meaning to the rights that the Constitution says we have if you've got no economic power to exercise those rights? You see? Unfortunately, it's a discussion that they are not prepared to have. You know, they are deliberately ignoring that discussion. Please, guys, tell me, what do you think? What do you think of this Human Rights Day? Does it really have any meaning to us? It's just a day for the politicians to stand on the ground or on the podiums and feel just to talk and feel good about themselves, when actually on the ground there's nothing meaningful that is happening on the ground. You see, that's a reality now that we are confronted with. Thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Please, guys, do subscribe to the channel. Please do share this video on different social media platforms that we are using, guys. Thank you very much, guys. Magukhanye.